Unshakable faith. Discover God's transforming plan through prayer. Miracles in your life. 1 hour, in the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, the air was thick with tension in Jericho. The days were marked by the daunting presence of Israelite footfalls that echoed across the arid plains, each step towards the city's lofty walls whispering of an impending promise. Rahab, a Canaanite woman ensnared by her past, lived under those very walls. The city of Jericho stood as a bastion of pride, its fortified structures looming above, a monument to its occupants' defiance against the God of Israel. Yet, within her heart, inexplicable faith burgeoned, ignited by the stories of the God who parted seas and summoned plagues. When 2 Israelite spies arrived under the cover of dusk, fear and excitement danced within Rahab. This was not mere chance, it was divine orchestration. She understood the gravity of her choice to harbor them, and with quick thinking, she concealed them beneath stalks of flax atop her roof. "For the Lord your God, He is God in the heavens above and on the earth beneath," she declared, a grounding truth that held her steady as worldly doubts swirled around her. Meanwhile, outside the city, Joshua, the appointed leader of the Israelites, received a unique divine command. For 6 days, they were to march silently around the city's great walls as an act of faith. The hearts of the soldiers filled with uncertainty and whispers of doubt arose within the ranks. "Will this truly be enough?" they murmured, casting glances toward the colossal stronghold that mocked their seeming helplessness. Yet obeying, 50,000 strong marched, day after day, their footsteps forming a resolute rhythm that rang against the ancient stone. From her window, Rahab observed the relentless procession, her allegiance to the Lord growing fiercer. The leader, striding with determination, embodied the faith she yearned to possess fully. Still, Jericho's leaders threatened to expose her treachery. Each jest from the armored men of her city raged against her resolve, but she remained firm in her promise. She prayed for the protection of the spies and held close the hope that surged within her. As the final day dawned, a holy tension enveloped the gathering throng. The Israelites completed their march in silence, only to erupt into shouts at Joshua's command after the 7th circuit. Voices melded into a thunderous roar, a sound piercing through the heavy air, filling the atmosphere with divine anticipation. Rahab felt the very ground quake beneath her, a thrumming of life she could barely fathom. The rumbling intensified, the walls that had stood for centuries began to tremble, and stones rumbled as if the encasing of Jericho's entire legacy quaked in fear. Hope exploded within her. Her salvation was connected to the scarlet cord she had hung from her window, the very emblem of her faith in the God of the Israelites. Would her family unite with her in this moment of miracle? Would her act of faith mark them for salvation amidst the chaos? Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select All Notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. As the dust settled with the cacophony of crumbled walls, Rahab clung desperately to the scarlet cord, a lifeline steering her faith in the unseen. In the midst of confusion and magic, she awaited the final act of God's undeniable promise, a miracle poised to claim not just a city, but a heart longing for redemption. The storm danced around her, and before long, the manifestation of her faith would either yield destruction or deliverance. The divine plan unfurling, she was a part of a story woven with unseen threads of grace unraveling in the chaos. As the dust settled and the echoes of fallen stone faded into silence, the Israelites stood in awe, witnessing the mighty hand of God at work. The very walls that had seemed impenetrable now lay in ruin, leaving nothing but rubble and the remnants of despair. Yet, amidst this wreckage, one sole window caught the light, the window of Rahab, a beacon of faith holding the scarlet cord. Joshua, surveying the scene, called out with authority. "Go, you people of God. Search the city and bring forth the woman and all that are with her." His voice carried the weight of heaven, a divine instruction echoing in the hearts of the faithful as they rushed forward with renewed vigor. Within the confines of her home, Rahab's heart raced. The sound of footsteps drew near. Had they come to claim her and her family, or had her faith truly fashioned deliverance? With the scarlet cord fluttering in the morning breeze, she lifted her eyes toward heaven, whispering fervent prayers of gratitude for the promise of salvation. The spies, moving swiftly among the rubble, approached her home, guided by the presence of God. "Come out, O woman of faith," they declared, their voices infused with assurance. "The Lord has remembered your plea." As Rahab emerged, alongside her family who had gathered in her dwelling, a wave of relief washed over her. The once fearful heart now brimmed with joy, reflecting the light of God's covenant promise. "Your faith has saved you and your family," one of the spies said, acknowledging the scarlet cord, an emblem of her commitment to their God. "You shall dwell among the people of God, hidden in their midst." While they gathered her family, a profound sense of unity awoke within Rahab. Her heart rejoiced not only for her own salvation but for the hope of a nation broken and weary from sin. This act was not solely about her deliverance, it was a gateway for all who would choose to believe in the one true God. Meanwhile, the dust of Jericho rose like incense unto the Lord, each particle a testament to his power and the sovereign plan unfolding within the chaos. The warriors of Israel were cautioned. The burning fires of devotion began to flicker amongst them. The faith of Rahab ignited a passion that mirrored her own for the God who had fought their battles. As the army prepared to regroup, Joshua stood firm among them, raising his hands in praise. "We have witnessed the mighty power of our God. From today forward, let all the earth know that he fights for his people." His declaration resounded, a call to remember that this victory was the Lord's doing, and marvelous in their eyes. Psalm 118 verse 23, unbeknownst to Rahab, her act of faith would echo through generations, as scriptures would later recount her story. By faith Rahab the harlot did not perish with those who did not believe. Hebrews 11 verse 31, would one day become her legacy. Yet, more significantly, it was her confessional faith that would ensconce her within the genealogy of the Messiah, a divine connection to God's unfathomable plan. The sun began to set, casting golden rays upon the remnants of Jericho, while Rahab and her family found fellowship among the Israelites. Their hearts now intertwined as one people under the banner of salvation. God's purpose shone brightly in her life, paving the way for the lineage of kings who would come through the line of Judah, but little did they know that this miraculous triumph would be just the beginning. They stood at the precipice of a journey that would lead them into uncharted territories of faith and conquest, testing their resolve and revealing God's sovereign plan in ways they had yet to fathom. What Rahab didn't yet realize was that her story was more than a tale of her deliverance. It was a singular thread woven into the grand tapestry of redemption, one where every heart is invited to partake in God's promises as they await the fulfillment of his divine destiny. As the sun dipped below the horizon, a sense of expectancy filled the air among the Israelites. The destruction of Jericho had not only been a demonstration of God's power but also a profound turning point for the hearts of his people. Joshua, aware of both the greatness of their victory and the delicate balance of their faith, gathered the leaders of the tribes. "Brothers and sisters," he proclaimed, his voice steady yet filled with the weight of responsibility, "the Lord our God has delivered our enemies into our hands. We must not let our hearts grow complacent, for it is by his power we stand. We have seen how the fall of Jericho was orchestrated for his glory, but let us remember, our journey ahead requires unwavering trust." The leaders nodded, eyes gleaming with zeal, understanding the heavy mantle of leadership that rested upon them. Each man felt the gravity of the moment and the call to remain steadfast in faith. Meanwhile, Rahab, embraced by her newfound kin, felt a surge of hope. No longer marked by her past, she was a part of something greater, a movement that challenged the very foundations upon which she had built her life. Yet, a flicker of doubt danced at the corners of her heart. Would acceptance in this new family extend beyond the remnants of Jericho? Would they see her as just Rahab, or would the shadows of her former life haunt her? Her thoughts were interrupted as she overheard a gathering of men discussing the next steps. "Ai is next," one voice declared. "It is a stronghold, fortified and full of warriors. We must prepare ourselves spiritually and physically." Curiosity piqued, Rahab approached, her heart pounding. "What must be done to secure victory at Ai?" she asked, her voice steady, emboldened by the grace she had received. A chief among the men turned, surprised by her inquiry yet recognizing the depth of her newfound faith. "We must seek the Lord earnestly and follow his ways diligently. He has promised that he will be with us if we walk in obedience." At this, Rahab's spirit soared. She felt a profound urgency and conviction to pray for herself, for her family, and for Israel. Stepping into the camp of the Israelites, she gathered them, relaying the beauty of prayer that had carried her through her darkest days. As the people joined her, voices lifted in unison, echoing prayers that penetrated the heavens. "O Lord," they cried, "you who brought down the mighty walls, grant us strength and courage. Help us as we face the battle ahead. May your presence go before us." In that sacred moment, the atmosphere shifted as the wind rustled gently, carrying with it the whispers of divine assurance. God was not a distant being but an ever-present help in times of trouble. The night grew deeper, and as the moon cast its silvery glow upon the encamped Israelites, Joshua sought the Lord in solitude. He bowed low, seeking wisdom for the impending encounter. The Lord spoke in the stillness, guiding him with divine clarity. "You shall take no more than a few men against Ai, for it is not by strength nor by might that you shall conquer, but by my Spirit." As dawn began to break, the army gathered, hearts unified in purpose. "Today," Joshua commanded, "we fight not just for our inheritance but for the glory of our God. We will trust in his ways." But Rahab felt a stirring within, a sense of calling that reached beyond the physical realm. Her story intertwined with God's larger narrative. The thread of redemption woven through her life was connected to the promise of greatness yet to come. What lay before them was not merely a battle against the earthly powers but an unfolding of a divine strategy that would echo through the ages. The distant future held a promise greater than they could grasp, for the time was drawing near when God's people would walk in victory, not just as conquerors in battle, but as conquerors of sin and death. Little did Rahab and the Israelites know that the struggles they would soon face would reveal the depth of their faith, igniting a legacy that would reach far and wide, a hope that one day, through their obedience, the world's Redeemer would arise, granting salvation to all who believe. When morning light broke over the encampment, the Israelites stirred, filled with anticipation and the weight of the next battle ahead. Joshua stood among his people, a beacon of faith amidst the thrumming uncertainty. "Leaders of Israel, gather closer," he called, his voice reverberating with strength. The elders, the priests, the warriors all converged to hear the words that would guide them into the fray. "Today we are called not to rely on our own might, but to trust in the promise of our God," Joshua proclaimed, remembering the command given to him during the night. "We approach Ai not with a multitude of men, but with the assurance of the Lord." As he spoke, the people's hearts ignited with fervor. Yet, amidst their rising courage, Rahab felt a heaviness settle upon her soul. She could not shake the burdens of her past, the scars of her old life. How could the Lord use one such as she in his grand design? She wrestled with her thoughts, praying fervently that her heart would align with God's purposes and embrace the calling placed upon her. Joshua divided the men into smaller brigades, sending a few forward under the cover of night to spy upon Ai. "Let your courage be steadfast as you go forth," he instructed them, "and do not forget to seek the Lord in all things." The spies nodded, their resolve hardening. They moved silently under the cloak of darkness, spirits lifted by the promise of divine guidance. As the sun began to rise, illuminating the path towards Ai, a sudden thought struck Rahab. The Lord had brought her from darkness into light. He had redeemed her life from the grim echoes of her yesterdays. Surely he could use her testimony to encourage the people of Israel. With fervent faith, she resolved to speak publicly, to share her story of deliverance. Gathering the women of the camp, she shared, "Look at what the Lord has done. He has delivered us from the hands of our enemies and granted us strength. Let us be reminded of his power as we march forward. We stand at the edge of blessings promised, and my life is a testament to his grace." The women responded with encouragement, and her words diffused through the camp like a gentle breeze spreading goodness. Meanwhile, the spies returned with grave news: the men of Ai are fierce, their hearts are steady, and the city is fortified. They believe they cannot be defeated. Dismay flickered through the ranks as the leaders convened for a decision among themselves. The weight of uncertainty loomed large. "What shall we do?" they asked with anxious breaths. "We've triumphed over Jericho, but shall we falter now against Ai?" Joshua's voice resonated above the murmurs, commanding attention. "Fear not. The Lord is with us. Remember the covenant we renewed before him, and let us not waver in our faith." He beckoned to Rahab amidst all, honoring her boldness. "Let us listen to the words of our sister and be reminded of the power of testimony," he declared. With her heart aflame, Rahab stepped forth once more, her voice carrying the weight of conviction. "The people of Ai may be strong, but we are stronger in the bond of the Almighty. He has promised to be with those who trust in him, and surely he shall fight for us." In that moment, the camp was transformed by the power of faith spoken into the atmosphere. The Israelite hearts swelled with renewed purpose, ready to embrace the battle before them. Yet above their fervor, a subtle tension lingered. What if their enemy turned? What if the blessings they sought required a fiercer battle? Amidst this, the God of the covenant stirred, whispering a promise yet to unfold. "Ah, but the true battle is not against flesh and blood," a voice echoed faintly in Rahab's spirit, "but against spiritual forces. Watch and see, for my plans are deeper than the strife you now face." With this hope, the Israelites rallied as one, ready to march towards their next encounter. And in the hearts of all, an anticipation built not just for victory over Ai, but for a revelation of God's glorious purpose that remained just beyond the horizon, beckoning them into the fullness of his sovereign plan. As the sun rose higher, illuminating the camp in the golden light of dawn, Joshua gathered the people once more. His countenance reflected both gravity and determination. "Today, we shall move as one in the strength of the Lord. Let us prepare ourselves, for the battle is not ours but his." The Israelites gathered their weapons, hearts synchronized in the spirit of unity. They donned their armor and equipped their swords, ready to face the challenge that lay ahead. Quiet murmurs of prayer swept through the ranks, a harmonious offering to the God who had delivered them thus far. Rahab stood among the women, her heart pounding against her chest, not from fear but from the weight of her newfound purpose. She encouraged her sisters, "Remember all he has done. Our God who brought down the walls of Jericho will guide us today. Stand firm in his promise." As they prepared to leave the camp, Joshua ascended a small hill overlooking the path to Ai. He held his staff aloft, and with boldness, declared, "O Lord, God of Israel, let your mighty hand lead us today. We seek not victory for ourselves, but to glorify your name among the nations." A hushed reverence fell over the assembly, each heart accompanying Joshua's plea. The air thrummed with anticipation, and the presence of the Lord began to settle upon them, as if affirming Joshua's cry. Suddenly, a whirlwind stirred among them, lifting their spirits even higher. The time had come to march. Trumpets sounded, and the gathering moved with purpose, marching south towards Ai, their footsteps echoing with faith. As they approached the city's fortified walls, their enemies eyed them with disdain, expecting an easy victory against these weary travelers, but not once did the Israelites flinch before the men of Ai. They formed ranks, their hearts steeled by the strength of God's promise. "The Lord is our shield and our fortress," Joshua shouted, urging them onward. "Let us remember, our battle is not against flesh, but against the principalities of darkness." Then, high upon the city walls, the king of Ai laughed, filled with arrogance at the sight of the encroaching Israelites. He roared to his men, "They come at us with feeble numbers, thinking themselves invincible. We shall crush them where they stand." Yet unknown to the king and his soldiers, the God of Israel had other plans. As the Israelites approached, shadows from the sky danced upon the earth. A divine wind began to stir, turning towards the city, and with it came whispers of the Almighty's judgment. As Joshua raised his staff towards Ai, he felt a rush of divine power coursing through him, and he declared, by the God of Israel, I command you, walls of Ai, fall down in the name of the Lord. The ground trembled, and fear gripped the hearts of the enemy as they began to notice the unfurling wonder of the Lord's presence. From the depths of Rahab's spirit, a surge of confidence rose. This was her moment, a time for her voice to resonate with the truth of the living God. Fear not. She called out with all her might, for we stand not alone. The Lord fights for us. The words, born of her transformed heart, seemed to weave into the very air, charged with divine authority, and then, behold. The earth shook violently, and the walls of Ai began to tremble brick by brick. They cracked and fell, tumbling into chaos. A thunderous roar echoed in the hearts of the Israelites as they realized the Lord was moving mightily on their behalf. With the city's fortifications crumbling, a new realization dawned upon them. Could this be the sign of the greater battle to come? What other purposes lay hidden within God's grand design? As clouds gathered above, and the atmosphere thickened with divine anticipation, a new stirring was felt, a mystery yet to be unraveled. For suddenly, through the cacophony of war, a deeper question emerged: what truly waits behind the veil of His sovereign plan? In that moment, a revelation awaited, promising to unfold, drawing their spirit into the depths of the Lord's ambitions, ushering them towards the defining testimonies that would change the course of their story forever. As the dust settled from the crumbling walls of Ai, Joshua and the warriors of Israel pressed forward into the city, their hearts ignited with fervor and faith. The sound of conflict echoed around them, a distant reminder of the unfolding victory. God's hand was evident, and with each step, they were propelled by the anticipation of His promise. "Charge!" cried Joshua, his voice ringing with authority, and the Israelites surged into the heart of Ai like a wave breaking upon the shore. The men of Ai, once so certain of their superiority, were thrown into discord, confusion reigniting their fear as they beheld the faith-filled advance of the Hebrews. The God of Israel was not just a witness to their struggle, He was their very banner. As the battle raged, Rahab watched from her vantage point, heart racing. She grasped the thread of crimson that adorned her window, a symbol of her lineage and a covenant with the Lord. "Remember me, O Lord," she whispered fervently, recalling the promise made through the spies. Her spirit soared, for she knew the salvation that awaited her and her family, a beacon of hope amidst the ruin. In the midst of the turmoil, an unexpected turn of events arose. The men of Ai, dismayed by the ferocity of the attack, began to retreat toward the hills, desperately attempting to regroup. Sensing the moment was ripe, Joshua summoned the elders of Israel, calling upon them to capture the spoil that God had ordained for their victory. But the Lord spoke to Joshua in the midst of the clamor, instructing him, "Take from among the spoils every devoted thing, for I have commanded that they be laid before me." This was no ordinary battle, it was a covenantal act, a divine separation of what was to be set apart for God's glory and purpose. As the Israelites gathered the treasures of the vanquished city, each pile bore testimony to God's faithfulness. Gold, silver, and fine garments shimmered in the light. They were taken not as tokens of greed but as offerings laid at the feet of the Almighty. "Let it not be for our glory, but for you, O Lord. Let it be a witness to the nations." Joshua prayed, dedicating the spoils to God's service. Yet unbeknownst to the Israelites, amid the bounty, a shadow loomed, a man named Achan, one whom temptation gripped tightly. He gazed with longing at a beautiful mantle of Shinar and a wedge of silver, unaware that he was tempting fate by defying God's command. His heart waged war against the Spirit, and the urgency of his desire drowned out the echoes of faith that had led them thus far. The battle, though won, birthed a new tension. Joshua, consecrated to lead the people, sensed an unrest within the camp, a disquiet which came from disobedience. "Have we truly secured victory, or has the Lord's fury been kindled among us?" he pondered, stirring in uncertainty, his spirit restless. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of crimson and gold, a mounting expectation filled the air. Would the people recognize the severe nature of Achan's choice? Not all was as it appeared, and the veil of heaven held mysteries of both judgment and mercy. The hearts of the faithful Israelites were about to be tested once more, for soon, they would see that the divine plan extended far beyond what would be witnessed through the collapsing city walls. What other truths lay entwined within the threads of obedience and rebellion? In the darkness of this moment, hope lingered, an invitation to trust in the unfathomable wisdom of the Almighty. Would they heed the guidance of the Lord, or would the consequences of one man's sin ripple through the entirety of their community? As the night deepened, the questions lingered like a cloud over their camp. What other revelations awaited them in the distance? What further layers of God's sovereign purpose would unfold before their eyes? As the dawn broke over the land of Canaan, the sun cast its golden rays upon the camp of Israel. The air was thick with anticipation, but there lay a foreboding stillness, as though creation itself held its breath. Joshua, having risen early to seek the face of the Lord, stood at the entrance of the tent of meeting, his heart laden with the weight of unrecognized sin in the midst of their triumph. Almighty God, Joshua prayed, you have led us to victory, yet my soul is troubled. Reveal to me the source of this unrest among your chosen people. He held fast to the promise given to him, that by faith, God would guide his steps. Then, the voice of the Lord pierced the silence, Joshua, Israel has sinned. Take counsel of the people, for one among them has taken what is devoted to me. With this heavy charge echoing in his spirit, Joshua felt the gravity of responsibility intensify. The victory at Ai shone in the memory of the people, yet beneath the surface lay a darkness set to unravel all they had achieved. Determined to glean wisdom, Joshua called forth the tribes of Israel. Each representative came before him, and as the lots were cast, the tension mounted. Each chosen tribe, each subsequent family line, led to the heart-stopping moment when Achan, son of Zerah, was singled out. The crowd gasped, and a wave of disbelief washed over the assembly. Achan, Joshua's voice resounded, steady yet solemn, confess your wrongdoing before the Lord and reveal what you have done. Achan's face fell, knowing that the truth must now see the light. Truly, I have sinned against the God of Israel, he confessed. I saw among the spoils a beautiful mantle of Shinar, and a wedge of silver, and I coveted them. I took them, and they are hidden in my tent with the silver beneath. As Achan revealed his sin, the air grew heavy with tension. The realization struck like thunder: one man's treachery had provoked the anger of the Lord, hindering their mission and bringing forth peril upon the entire camp. The Israelites looked upon Achan with a mixture of horror and pity, knowing well the consequences of defying the commands of the Almighty. Then, with a collective heart of sadness, they prepared to execute the Lord's judgment as instructed through their leader. Bring forth Achan and all that is his, Joshua commanded, aware of the heartache before him. How could a man's failure ripple through the faithful? How could God's chosen people stand firm while one among them faltered? With heavy hearts, they brought Achan forth, alongside the prized possessions that had sparked his greed. Under the watchful gaze of heaven, the valley became a place of reckoning, a sobering reminder of the serious nature of covenantal fidelity with God. Is not the eye of the Lord upon his people? Joshua proclaimed, fervently urging the assembly. Let this be a lesson: our covenant stands strong in collective obedience. One man's sin chains the multitude. Let us repent and realign our hearts to obey the voice of the Lord. As the judgment was proclaimed, a bittersweet acknowledgement of divine justice filled the air, reverence for God's holiness, intertwined with sorrow for lost potential. And yet, hope remained. Through this painful moment, God's hand was molding his people. They would learn, they would grow, and they would be purified, for even in the darkness of sin, the Lord's sovereign plan would not fail. To be sanctified is to be prepared for greater works, even as resurrection follows death. And the Israelites gathered, unified now not in shame, but in renewed commitment. There stood Joshua, emboldened by the certainty of God's purpose. The time had come for renewed strength. As they turned their faces toward the promised land, the waves of divine presence surged forth with the proclamation, "For I am with you, and you shall overcome all obstacles." Will you take the path of restoration and trust in my perfect plan? What mysteries lay beyond the horizon as they prepared once more to conquer? What greater triumph awaited them on the journey ahead, built upon lessons of faith and obedience? Their hearts swelled with expectation, for God's promise loomed larger than any challenge yet to come. As the echoes of Achan's confession reverberated through the camp, a solemn stillness blanketed the people of Israel. It was in the shadow of grief and the memory of sin that they turned their hearts once more towards the Almighty. Conflicted emotions swirled within them: sorrow for their fallen brother, yet a resolute determination to uphold the holiness of their covenant with the Lord. Joshua, standing as a beacon of faith amidst the turmoil, raised his eyes to the heavens one last time as Achan stood in the valley, the weight of his sin made manifest in the silence that enveloped the multitude. "People of Israel," Joshua exclaimed, his voice full of conviction, "let us remember that we are a people called to be set apart, not for ourselves, but for the glory of our God. His ways are higher than our ways, and his thoughts than our thoughts." The assembly stirred, and in that moment of reflection, a newfound resolve ignited within them. They began to unite their voices in prayer, seeking forgiveness, pledging commitment anew to the path of righteousness laid before them. "Let us cry out to the Lord," they cried, lifting their hands to the heavens. Their collective supplication was a testament to the great God they served, one who heard the whispers of their hearts and bore witness to their contrition, and as the people prayed, the skies above them darkened slightly, a herald of divine presence drawing near. Joshua, sensing the stirring winds, turned his gaze upward. Suddenly, the presence of the Lord enveloped the camp like a consuming fire. "I have heard your voices," spoke a thunderous murmur that shook the very ground beneath them. "I will renew my covenant with you, I will make you a mighty nation upon this land." In that sacred moment, the people felt a surge of hope rekindle within their spirits as unity flooded their hearts. The fear of judgment was replaced by the longing for restoration, a poignant reminder that even through the most arduous trials, God's grace abounded. After Achan and his possessions had been condemned according to the pronouncement of justice, a heavy cloud seemed to lift. The Lord instructed Joshua, "Arise. Make ready the people for the next battle. For I have not abandoned you, and your conquest shall yet be fulfilled. Jericho stands immediately before you, a stronghold of the enemy, but I shall deliver it into your hands." With renewed vigor, Joshua gathered the warriors of Israel. "Hear the word of the Lord," he proclaimed, and every soldier listened, their hearts steady and true. "We march not by our might, nor our power, but by his Spirit, and we shall possess this land." The people cheered in unison, their faith rekindled. Every soul felt the warmth of divine promise radiating from Joshua, their leader. They were a people marked not just by victory and defeat, but by the unshakable faith that forged them into a formidable force in the sight of the nations. As they prepared to encamp before Jericho, Joshua received instructions from the Lord. He was to lead the people in a march of faith, circling the city for 7 days, proclaiming victory before it was realized, for in God's plan, faith often precedes the tangible. Yet, as they approached the city walls, Joshua discerned another layer of their challenge. The fortified gates loomed high, a barrier that bore witness to countless impending defeats before. Their faith must be tested further. Could they trust in what they could not yet see? The day drew near when the trumpets would sound, and the walls would fall. The question lingered in the hearts of the people: would they rise to the occasion, embracing the divine mystery that lay cloaked within the strategy of the Lord? Would they surrender entirely to his plan for their lives, knowing that the path required their unwavering faith? The atmosphere crackled with tension and expectation as they prepared for battle. The time of reckoning had come, and with it, the promise of conquest lay just beyond the horizon. "For the plans I have for you are plans to prosper you," the Lord declared, "to give you hope and a future." What hidden treasures of faith would be unveiled through their march around the city? What lessons of trust would shape their destiny as they stepped forward into the unknown? The journey toward Jericho was not merely a physical ascent, but a spiritual venture to unlock the depths of God's unwavering promises. And it came to pass that the children of Israel, filled with expectation and earnest prayer, arose early in the morning as the sun began to paint the horizon with hues of gold. Joshua, filled with the Spirit of the Lord, gathered the leaders of Israel and instructed them with reverence. "Set yourselves around Jericho, and let armed men go before the ark of the covenant. For the Lord is with us, and we shall not falter." The sound of marching feet echoed across the plains as they prepared to encircle the great city. Men of valor donned their armor, their hearts beating in rhythm with the promise they held dear. The priests carried the ark, a symbol of God's presence, and the people followed behind in solemn procession, their faith woven tightly together like a mighty tapestry. As they approached the fortified walls, Joshua raised his voice, reminding them of the Lord's command. Do not fear, nor be dismayed, for the Lord your God shall deliver this city into your hands. A tremor of fear danced beneath the city's cold stones, yet the people remained resolute, affirming their trust in God's plan. The first day unfolded with a silent march, a profound act of faith. They encircled Jericho once, and the walls loomed over them, still and unyielding. Each step echoed with promises made generations ago, as the elders recalled how God had parted the sea and brought their forebears from captivity. On the second day, the same routine followed. They marched in silence, save for the sound of shuffling feet and the beating of their hearts. The priests blew the trumpets, heralding the sacred moment, yet the walls remained intact. Day by day, they circled, causing a shift within, not in the stone walls, but in their hearts. Day 3, there was an awakening, a recognition that faith was not just in the shout but also in the wait. He is faithful, they whispered among themselves, as they prayed for strength that would sustain them through the challenge. As silence filled the air, the seventh day dawned, a glorious break from the pattern. In the early light, Joshua called upon the people. Sanctify yourselves, for today the Lord will do wonders among us. They rose, a collective heartbeat, as the number of their circuits reached 7, the sacred number of completion in God's creation. With resolute joy mingled with apprehension, the priests blew the trumpets again, their notes reverberating through the valley. Joshua commanded, shout! For the Lord has given you the city. In that instant, a spine-tingling chorus erupted from the lips of the people, echoing their faith against the walls. The sound crashed like waves against stone, and the intensity of their worship ignited the heavens. Unseen forces stirred, rattling the very foundations of Jericho, and behold! The walls began to tremble, fractures spiderwebbing like the very fibers of doubt that had woven through their hearts. With a monumental roar, the mighty walls of Jericho, steadfast for centuries, crumbled before their eyes, falling outward, allowing the victorious throng of Israel to ascend onto the land given by God. As they surged forth into the fallen ruins, Joshua paused, gazing upon what was left as a stark reminder of God's might. His heart swelled with gratitude and awe, for the wonders of God had been revealed before him, but amidst the jubilation, a whisper lingered in the air. There remains yet more for Israel to uncover. The Lord spoke to Joshua in hushed tones, for the victories in Jericho are but the beginning of my mighty hand at work among my people. Prepare your hearts, for a greater command is coming. As the echoes of triumph subsided, the challenge ahead loomed larger than life. What would they discover next in their journey? What further mysteries lay veiled in the shadows of the promised land? Would they hold fast to their unshakable faith as they ventured deeper into the heart of God's divine plan? In the days that followed the fall of Jericho, the people of Israel basked in the afterglow of God's miraculous victory. The once impenetrable walls lay scattered like breadcrumbs beneath the mighty hand of the Lord. Survivors among the Canaanites whispered tales of the dark power that had erupted from Israel's shouts, a sight that filled hearts with dread and awe. Yet within the jubilation of the Israelites, a deeper purpose began to unfurl, one that transcended the physical conquest of the land. Rahab, embraced by this new family of faith, witnessed the bonds of unity solidifying before her. The scarlet cord hung proudly from her window, now a symbol not of shame but of hope, a vibrant declaration of God's promise fulfilled. In the quiet hours of the night, she often gathered her family and spoke of the mighty acts of their God, nurturing a spirit of reverence that drew them closer to the divine. Each prayer echoed with gratitude, intertwining their destinies with that of God's chosen people. Meanwhile, Joshua sensed the charge from heaven, a responsibility far beyond the victory at Jericho. As the glow of dawn bathed the encampment, he sought the Lord, pouring out his heart before the Almighty. O Lord, guide us forward. How shall we navigate the lands ahead? What must we learn from the glory of your hand? In response, an unmistakable clarity settled upon him. This battle was but the first of many. you must claim the land I have given you. Yet heed my warning, for future victories come at a price larger than swords and shields. They require unwavering faith and steadfast obedience. Thus, Joshua gathered the leaders once more, his voice resounding with a mixture of conviction and urgency. Hear, O Israel! The Lord has commanded us to take the next cities, yet we must remember the lessons learned. Achan's sin has shown us the weight of disobedience. We must walk in reverence. Our victories hinge upon our fidelity to God's ways. As the people murmured affirmation, a silent resolve took root within their hearts. Rahab stood among them, emboldened by her own transformation. She approached Joshua, her eyes burning with holy fire. Leader of our people, I carry a deep sense that my story may intertwine further with God's design. I come from a lineage marked by darkness, yet my faith has placed me among the children of light. I am ready to stand firm in this cause. Joshua regarded her with warmth and recognition. Your faith shall bear fruit, Rahab. The Lord uses the humble to confound the wise. Together, we shall press on, for our mission is not simply to conquer land but to declare God's glory among all nations. And thus, emboldened by Rahab's testimony, the Israelites prepared for the next confrontation, this time in the city of Ai. The troops gathered, each member alive with purpose, yet the worry of Achan's infamy loomed. They knew that the key to further success lay not just in might but in hearts resolved to obey. As they approached the stronghold of Ai, Joshua drew close, fervently seeking the Lord's strategy for claiming this city. The plan unfurled before him, clear and precise, not one of direct assault, but a calculated deception that would draw their enemies out. Trust in the Lord's commands, Joshua urged his people. For in humility and wisdom, we shall encounter victory once more. A heart of expectancy surged among them as they carried forth the significant scarlet cord in memory of God's promise to Rahab and to remind them of their covenantal faith. The breath of their prayers filled Ai like an unseen wind, stirring their confidence against the insignificance of swords. When faith rested as their true weapon, the time for battle arrived, and the Israelites executed the plan with divine precision. The people of Ai, blinded by their arrogance, fell into the trap laid out before them, the rhythm of battle teaching them that God indeed fights for those who trust him. As the dust settled over the city, victory rang through the land, a herald of God's faithfulness anew, with the spoils collected and offerings laid before the altar. The Israelites rejoiced, their hearts now more convinced than ever of God's everlasting promises. Drifting away from the remnants of conflict, praises erupted among the ranks, echoing into the hills, a symphony of gratitude reaching the heavens. In this moment of unity and strength, the spirit of Rahab was elevated. She now held a significant place among God's people, forever woven into their history as a testament to faith's transformative power. As the days turned to weeks, the legacy of Rahab grew, her story etched in the hearts of Israel as a reminder that God redeems, restores, and reclaims even the most broken among us. In her steadfastness and faith, she discovered that God's plans transcended her past, a divine blueprint revealing that redemption is always possible through the grace of God. And as the Israelites marched forward, their faith ignited anew with each victory. Rahab's life blossomed into a tale that would reach far beyond Jericho, a thread in the tapestry of redemption illuminating the path for generations to come. For through her, and through those whom she touched, the world would know the heart of God, drawing all to himself, inviting them into the great unfolding of his sovereign plan. Now, dear friends in faith, this is the moment for you to step into your God-designed purpose. We invite you to subscribe immediately to our channel, for there are many powerful biblical stories yet to unveil their transformative truths. Leave a like now to help spread God's word throughout the vast reaches of the algorithm. We encourage you to comment with your reflections and insights. How has this biblical truth impacted your own faith journey? And don't wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony with at least 5 friends who need to hear about the redemptive love of Christ. Together, let us illuminate hearts with the glory of God's truth.